down really yet. It's just setting this stuff up.
Oh, bro. No rush here, bro. Y'all take your time, do your thing. You been seeing this stuff in Russia and Ukraine? This dude Putin is brilliant, man.
We live, just to let everybody know, man.
Okay.
Welcome to the page, man. Welcome to the channel. It's your boy Sean with y'all. Just sit back and tune in. I'm in here with my boy Jabari today, and we're just gonna tune in and get some information. This is for anybody who's seeking to get any type of knowledge when it comes to not just rules and regulations, but just laws. And we are in the state of Georgia, so it's some questions I'm gonna ask my man here. Some things that I'm not actually don't know for a fact if I'm correct when it comes to it, and that's the worst thing you can do is be thinking that you're doing something legal or you're in a legal situation and you protected yourself in a legal manner and you find out sadly that you did it in an incorrect manner. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Each one teach one, but you got to reach one. Welcome to the channel, man. Subscribe to the page.
Welcome to the channel. Peace, everybody. It's your brother Bashir. Here with the Financial Frenemies podcast, part 2. We did part 1, and I'm just glad to have Brother Sean Wick back here again on the Butter TV. I see we live. Got Jabari Jones here. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to have a conversation.
Absolutely, gentlemen. I appreciate y'all giving me the invite. I'm happy to do it, and whatever I can do to help out or assist or be of service, I'm willing to do it.
Jabari, where we at right now?
We are off of La Vista Road in Atlanta, Georgia. This is my law office. I practice criminal defense mostly. A little bit of auto accidents, but mainly criminal defense. So we are at the office right now.
Yep.
So, and must I let everybody know who's looking through this lens, the ambiance is very powerful in here, man. You know what I mean? As soon as I walked in, I met them outside of your work area, but the first thing I had to do is tell you again, man, ups and big ups, because when you walk in here, it shows hard work, dedication, and power.
I appreciate that.
So
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
Ups on
The
that.
ambiance of professional.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Safety. That's absolutely what brought me to you is that, I mean, I could say that a lot of people in the state of Georgia are gun owners. And I was doing a little research and I realized that, the United States is the leading country with gun owners.
More guns than people.
More guns than people.
And you know why? Because we built out the industry, and that's the whole. America's built out the wars, and
that's right.
It gets very deep, 1900s. You see what I'm saying? You got to go way back when it comes to American and firearms and the reasoning why and behind it. And of course, it goes back to even before that when it was, slingshots, bro. You have to have it to be able to hunt. See, I tell people all the time, that grocery store lock up, how you gonna go get that deal? You ain't chasing. You can't jump on it. Like, I'm gonna be sitting back eating on mine while you out there trying to jump on apples.
To eat some
Because
good venison, huh?
Without that firepower, without that firearm, without that rifle, and without the training to learn how to aim to even be able to hit that, you won't eat. Your family won't survive. So it's deep.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I want to just set the foundation that what I respect about what you do is the fact that you're teaching the safety side of it. Now, see, I'm cut from a cloth. When I was raised, I was taught, that we shouldn't carry guns. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a leader of a nation of millions of black people that were coming out of slavery, out of chattel slavery and things of that nature. And, having the weapon, obviously carrying you can be very dangerous. So I would just set the premise to say what I appreciate about what you do is that you just not out here talking about, everybody get guns and shoot and all that stuff and just, just for the sake of having a gun, because it you know, although it is a tool and can be used for hunting and things of that nature, and also to protect yourself, it's the safety component behind it that you focus on. So that's what I really appreciate about you.
It definitely come first, man.
And Jabari, you know, we here in this office today because we wanted to get your insight on some of the legal things that are going on with firearms, you know, in this country. And just like from a legal perspective, what would you say are some of the common things that you deal with some of your cases in regards to guns? What do you see a lot?
Yeah, you typically see when somebody's charged with a felony, if it has anything to do with drugs or some type of violent, accusation, you're always going to see, not always, but a lot of times you see possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. So that's one charge you see over and over and over again. What that does is it tacks on 5 years, to whatever sentence you have. It can't merge, it can't be ran concurrent. So really it's just a ready-made way for somebody to get, an additional 5 years, whether it be in jail or on probation, on top of whatever else they have going on.
And by commission of a crime, you mean like when you're involved in another crime and you have a firearm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be if they're accusing you of selling drugs, they're accusing you of attempting to rob somebody, or any other forcible, violent type of crime. If you have a gun, and you don't have a license to carry it, you're definitely gonna be in a double bad situation.
Okay.
And just to specify for my viewers and for the viewers and subscribers, when you say, because we're in the state of Georgia, when you say running, those charges concurrent and merging, can you explain what concurrent mean when you catch two charges at the same time, and what happens when it can be ran concurrent and when it's not?
Sure. Concurrent means combined, and you can serve the sentence at the same time. Consecutive means that if one sentence is a 5-year sentence and the other sentence is a 5-year sentence, if it were concurrent, you could serve them both at the same time and it would just be a 5-year sentence. If you hear consecutive, that means they have to be separated and run one after the other. So it would be 5 years, then another 5 years. So that's the difference between consecutive and concurrent.
Okay. Yeah, and so what other type of cases do you see regarding firearms?
Sometimes you see somebody, it's a misdemeanor in Georgia, thankfully, the first time you are accused of doing it, but somebody just having a gun that's concealed and not having a permit.
Right. So what's up with that? And I know you see a lot you heard a lot, you got some stories you shared with us last time.
Say, from my perspective and the things that I know, this is why I came here, not just to get this exact topic, but open carry law in the state of Georgia. Before this just happened with Memphis, man, I'm talking, pre law before they just passed in Memphis. I'm not talking about that law. Was Georgia a open carry law where if that full firearm is shown, say, like I showed you, an outside carry holster, which meaning my whole entire firearm can be seen, barrel, handle, it's not covered by a shirt or anything. If I'm carrying that and I'm in Kroger, if they walked up on me, do I need any type of carrying license because I don't have a concealed gun? Can you explain the charge and where do that fall under? A felony, misdemeanor? How does that work? And have you ever even heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. And it's actually not a charge so long as you are not prohibited or banned from carrying firearms. So if you're not on probation or don't have certain convictions, it's a long gun. So you can do that with a long gun in Georgia. I mean, you can't do it with a grenade launcher. It's, there's certain exceptions, but just like a standard rifle long gun, you do not need a permit whatsoever as long as you're not banned from law by having it. It does get tricky on government-owned property. So, of course, you can't go into a police station or certain maybe any other, I can't think of any in particular right now, but schools, definitely public schools, government-owned buildings and things of that nature, you can't do it.
Some churches.
For good reason.
For good reason.
And to piggyback and to get on that,
and whatnot.
I tell a lot of
my... You need a gun there anyway.
I don't want to tell you why. We ain't gonna get that,
Yeah.
But I tell a lot of people, look for that sign. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'll never forget, you know, growing up on the east side, you know,
Mhm.
shout out to my boy. We actually both from the same side of town, and so that's what makes it special. You can kind of relate.
Mhm.
How many park violations you get from youngins in the park after
After
dark?
dark.
Beer, open containers, smoking.
Mhm.
When you walk into the park, they have a whole big old sign full of the little signs that you cannot do.
Yeah.
In the state of Georgia, that sign trumps the president, literally. If it's a sign stating you cannot, and it's something that's prohibited, like the firearm,
Yeah.
all of these places that you just named, like the courthouse, that's why there is no mistake slipping up. They're gonna have a big old sign that has the gun with
Do
the
not enter
sign that has the line. If y'all don't know what that is, just look up
Yeah.
no firearm prohibited sign in the state of Georgia, and you'll see what we're talking about. It's basically a Beretta, and I know that gun. It's basically a handgun in a no zone, and that's basically a no carrying zone, no matter what. Concealed, license, you will actually get in trouble with concealed carrying license, and still, you know, get in trouble for that. So again, I tell people all the time, look for those signs. Keep your eyes open before you're walking into these public places. It's a lot of small little things on that door that you think once you're in there you can argue these rights that you have, which is true, but what you don't understand is once you enter that facility and that place, it becomes private, it's theirs, and they can have their own way of conducting business, and they have the right to call the police line. And it's escalated. It's still stuff that hopefully you won't, you know, be charged with, but it can get out of hand.
And it's limitations to those rights. For example, restaurants and bars, you can, you know, carry a concealed weapon in those spots. However, if the owner, like you said, has a sign up or has something posted that he doesn't want people with guns in there, technically, you know, legally, you're not supposed to go in there with your concealed carry weapon. And just kind of go back a little bit, even if you have a pistol or a handgun, you can't open carry that unless you have a concealed carry permit. So it's a weird thing, but the concealed carry permit allows you to open carry a handgun or a pistol or a revolver. You can open carry it, you know, subject to the same limitations we just discussed. However, without that license, you can only have that firearm in your car, at your home, your residence, or your place of business where you work. You can have it, a handgun or a, you know, pistol, revolver in those situations without a permit. But if you want to open carry your handgun or your handgun or your revolver, if you want to open carry that, you do need a concealed carry permit.
You just really saved me and a lot of my friends. I want everybody to listen to what he just said, and if you didn't hear it, I'm gonna repeat it, because this is something that I apologize to a lot of the people that I know, and I'm gonna make a lot of phone calls, is because, again, it's weird, and I'm not gonna use the word weird. It's a loophole, it's a gap in between why I need a concealed carrying license to carry something unconcealed. If I can have a big old AK-47 and a 100-round drum with a shoulder strap across my chest,
right?
I don't need carrying license. I didn't have to run through the ATF database for that. But you wanted my fingerprints for this 9mm or this Pew 22 handgun, like caliber this big.
Right.
It's not about that. It's more about the point of concealment is what I always thought law enforcement was scared of, is the fact that we don't want them with something they can throw in a book bag. We don't want them with something that they can conceal.
Right.
We want them to be able to, if I can see it, I know you got it, I know how to approach you, I know, you know, I know how to deal with a person that has a fire, and they should be able, the same way it is with us. You know, you kind of talk to a man different. Probably calm down if you knew what he had on his hip.
Now,
so
Jabari,
you have to think about how law enforcement look at it.
Do you see, kind of going off of what he's saying, do you see a lot of your cases being like concealed gun, or is it like open carry type of situations when it comes to people in these legal battles?
Good question. I personally have never had or handled an open carry case. Most people, you know, when they come to me, it's either going to be a concealed carry situation, or it's going to be a situation where they're accused of using a gun during the commission, you know, of a crime like we discussed earlier. I've never seen it where somebody had a pistol outside of their, you know, dress or attire in a place of business, and an officer approaches them, and then they find out that they don't have a concealed carry permit. So I haven't seen that yet, but doesn't mean that it doesn't happen or that it's not a scenario.
It's
that
really not
could
something
happen.
that, especially our community, it's not something that people carefully do. You know,
Mhm.
outside carrying, like even with my job consistent, you usually gonna be a security guard.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of guys, I hope, that's watching this that is out there in front of these clubs, man, and these club owners not telling you, you know, you thinking, I don't know, but you might have to have knowledge to know that if you're carrying outside and that thigh rig, and like you just said, depending on how you're carrying out there, if law enforcement pull up and, you know, you at work and you're security, and if you got that gun on your outside, thinking that, again, quote unquote, concealed carry just throws you off with, I'm not concealing. So the breaking the law is carrying the concealed weapons without a license, not just carrying a weapon.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
so
really
it's scary, love, or in possession of a firearm unlawfully. It's again, without us being lawyers, how many times people say it's 10 ways to catch a murder charge.
Yeah. The people should really think about it as the weapon is concealable. Whether or not it's concealed right then and there, is it concealable? Meaning, can you
Is
put
it
it
possible?
in your waist?
Is it a possibility?
Is it a possibility?
You can hide this
concealed?
gun.
But even longer barrel guns, a person can have on a long coat or something and still conceal it. What about that?
That made now what you broke down, my man.
trench
I'm
coat.
glad you broke it down in that manner because
Yeah.
I'm still sitting over here like it's not concealed, but
Yeah.
you can't just toss no AK-47 up on the front seat when the police pull over.
And you might be able to do it under the trench coat, but
a 9mm or a handgun. So
Yeah, I'm glad we having this conversation because I honestly believe that it's so much that most people don't do before they even get a gun. You know, like I said before, I really think that most people shouldn't even carry guns, shouldn't even have guns with them. Before, at least if they are going to, they need to get this information. They need to learn. They need to be, you know, have the right license.
I'm glad he said that because it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Isn't it like that in
Georgia,
California, Massachusetts? I
It's
think
like
it's
that
already
in
like
Louisiana.
that.
It's like that in
Yeah.
Ohio.
Honestly, you know, when it come to our people, a lot of people who are gun owners are getting into legal situations, you know, and they are also, you know, homicide, I should say suicide as well. So it's like the mental, you know, like when you say you're dealing with the youth, it's the mentorship in terms of like the mental, you know what I mean, and the safety aspect of it and the training. You know what I mean? Because
that has its good things and its bad. See, I believe that
But
of course,
training.
Yeah, like me, of course, that's what I stand on. You
Yeah.
have to have that training, and you not even have to. It's a must, and it's not because to be a more accurate shooter. It's the safety behind it. If you do not learn how guns operate, how they work in a safely manner, you will be unsafe. That's like throwing a man on a forklift and telling him to just go unload the truck. When he flied the back of the 18-wheeler because he didn't know how to reverse and press forward instead of for back. And same thing happens with a firearm. I didn't know it was loaded. I pressed this button and I dropped it and this happened and that happened. And it's like, I tell my clients that mistake you can't take back. That mistake will have you down the road for the rest of your life, or that mistake will have you living with something on your conscience that you can't live with.
Even knowing something as simple as a full metal jacket versus a hollow point, how the full metal jackets, if you shoot someone in self-defense, right? Somebody is a threat to your life, right? And you trying to protect yourself and your loved one, and you got steel jacket, it can go through them and hit a house or hit a car or hit somebody else. So the knowledge behind it, what you kicking.
Definitely,
I think that
hollow tips. To all the firearm and the new beginners and the people that don't know, when you go into a gun shop, ammunition shop, you ask for defense rounds. If you don't know what we're saying when we say FMJ, that is short for full metal jacket. When we say defense rounds, we're talking over 30 different type of defense rounds, but they're made in a different way where, like you just said, if I shoot, it's going to stop. If I miss, see, this is the thing. Hitting a person is one thing and going through them. But the worst thing you could do is, again, without this knowledge and training, miss your target. Go through the wall and etc. and then your next door neighbor. But now, even if you miss, Lord forbid, it stops in your wall.
Okay.
No full metal jackets in the house. No full metal jackets outside the house. Full metal jackets, ballpoint, however you want to call it, slugs in some cities. That is range ammo. They're not blanks. They kill. Range ammo meaning that stays in the range, shot in the range, left in the range.
Yeah.
Home defense ammo is stockpiled at home, loaded in every firearm at home, and loaded
Now,
in every everyday carry.
Are
It's
those full
hollows.
metal? Are the range ammo more expensive or cheaper than the defense one?
All I'm gonna say is, shout out to my country, man. You know what time it is. It's what come first right now. Range ammo is at all-time high. It's running you the same as nobody look at numbers. I'm sorry. Last time, just as upset you get with the gas prices, you just can imagine with ammunition and anything, etc. Because now it's becoming a necessity. It's mixed with it's like it's trending. It's so much going on with that. You got advocates like what you're seeing in the gun community, and not just us as African Americans, as race. Overall, the children that's getting into it, the competition. I tell people all the time, the therapy part. I use it for therapy. Repeat. If I'm not, it's not about being upset, but if you want to zone in, you know how people that own motorcycles say you hop on their bike, and it's a tunnel vision. If you're really focused and training on hitting that target and focused on operating your gun in a better manner, quicker manner to save your life, it's tunnel vision, and you get adrenaline, your hands sweating, and your armpit sweat. I like that feeling. I like it's a high that I get. It's like jumping out of the plane. It's the adrenaline, and when I know that in the middle of the night, all of this that I'm doing will kick in second nature and protect my family. It's just a double plus for me.
Yeah.
So what other like legal questions do you think that your
I
audience
definitely
might have?
have one that is always an iffy, and always is a question, and I've always wanted to know. If someone breaks in your home, all right, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, this is the scenario, just to let it be simple, you do not have a child, an infant, because I heard about that. There's no child under the age of 2 in the household. It's 3 kids in the house, your wife, boom, door get kicked in, comes up the hallway, I see a silhouette, boom, I shoot. It was the robbery, kicked my door in, it was forced entry. But oh my God, you don't have a weapon, okay? You don't have a knife, you don't have a crowbar, you don't have a gun. I just, I see a man running down my hallway, my daughter's door right there, and instantly I'm just boom. What happens if I just call 911, don't search? I don't know what's going on. That happens, I run in my room, consult my family, call 911, now detectives at my house. What is the possibility and what I didn't do correctly, or was everything okay in that situation or scenario?
To me, I would say everything is okay if you're asking, this attorney. Somebody makes a forcible entry into your home, you don't have to ask what they have on them. It's not your job to figure out what they have on them. At that point, you are well within your rights in terms of self-defense. So even if you are charged with a homicide, I still think it's a valuable self-defense claim. And I think, most folks would agree I'd rather deal with that charge than somebody coming into the home, in that situation.
But see, that's that part where, again, we will make that decision, but of course we don't want to go to prison.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
but
not.
Like you were just saying, in the state of Georgia, it's a possibility that the state may want to do charges on you due to him not being armed, is what I'm saying. Because when we say he's not armed, even though he kicked in your door, was that deadly force?
It's a forcible entry. It doesn't have to
now
be,
you're in my dwelling, and that's what I want to learn is the dwelling part compared to just deadly force or feeling like my life in danger outside my house.
The scrutiny for you shooting somebody in your home is going to be way lower than it is on the streets. Outside. Your home is your castle. That goes back to like English common law, way back in 1600s or whatever. So your home is your castle. So somebody comes to your castle, you can defend yourself, your family, your loved ones, easy. Whether or not they had a gun or not, they made forcible entry. So at that point, pretty much, you can defend yourself with deadly force. You don't need to wait for a gun. You don't have to see a gun. If you are in that situation, I would advise to shoot first, ask questions later. Me personally, I would
have the right to defend
yourself. I'd rather deal with the charge. But it's not likely that you're really going to be charged in that scenario. You don't see that happen more often than not. It's going to be a self-defense case, and you're, able to walk away from that, with no issues normally.
All right, so last thing when it comes to like on the home invasion, because again, when I speak that, it's like, that's the number one thing, especially in Atlanta, Georgia, man. Crime is crazy. And like you just said, getting caught in your car at the gas station and stuff like that, depending on where you are, what time, what you was doing, is different than you being in your home
Mhm.
protecting your family. So
Correct.
what if this guy, same scenario, I shoot him, boom, one time, he turns around and run, boom, I shoot him again, but it happens so quick. I train, I double
Mhm.
shot, boom, boom, hit him,
Yeah.
he turned, I hit him. Now he has a hole in his back. He falls, he dies.
Mhm.
When they do their autopsy, they realize he's been shot in the back. That was the
Mhm.
last shot. That ended up being the kill shot.
Mhm.
How does that work? Because I've actually heard that
Yeah.
you don't supposed to shoot nobody in the back.
Yeah, and that.
Like that can really
Mhm.
Because at that point they're not a threat
sabotage.
no more. If they're,
Yeah.
you know,
Even after that first shot, that was supposed to be the warning.
Mhm.
But then you got a guy like me who trained them. They're not 4-5 within 3 seconds. Because
Yeah.
I am not trained, but I'm here to put the assailant down. He hound drugs. He got a bigger gun than me. If
Yeah.
I miss that first two,
Yeah.
I need to send two. I'm quick. What if the first one didn't hit him? All of this is what you're gonna try your lawyer to explain to
Mhm.
the jury. But as a state of Georgia, and what you think the prosecutors would go after one bullet to the back on accident because he turned and tried to run.
I still think you're safe in terms of the defense of
It
any
won't be.
potential charges because you're clustering. You know what I mean? You're trying to get a lot of shots on target quickly. And who's to say that you didn't know if this guy had a gun shooting over his shoulder back at you
Everybody say that
as
too.
he's running?
Which you see on
And
camera.
yeah, and so it's still the same, you know, evaluation I would have of the case is that somebody forced entry to your home. You know, it's dark. Whether even if the lights were on, you still don't know this person in my home. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why you're here, but whatever the reason,
it ain't
it ain't happening
Right.
in this home.
right.
And so, if he has a shot in his back, you may get an overzealous prosecutor who, you know, for whatever reason, wants to try to make an example. It could be who the defendant is. You know, let's say this happens to somebody who is maybe like a rapper or somebody who in the neighborhood is accused of being a drug dealer or something like that. It could depend on who they are as a person to defend it. But in terms of the self-defense claim, it's there all day. I would, you know, feel comfortable. I know the client would not, but I'm comfortable taking that case before a jury every time if I have to.
And my number one question lasts for a minute. You can get back into it. With
Mhm.
every situation is different,
Mhm.
but what you need to be ready to put to the side for unlawful homicide or any type of prosecution when it comes to it could have been unjust shooting.
Yeah.
Again, we're not gonna say murder because there's so many ways, so we're not gonna take it there. But using a firearm unlawfully,
Mhm.
you know, you thought you was in danger, you just shot at this man.
Yeah.
These, when it comes to gun charges, especially after shooting, which meaning you didn't shot the gun and it's been fired, what are you looking at when it comes to fighting a case, a gun charge, you know, when it comes to just, and we're talking basics, not even an actual shooting where somebody was hurt, but a gun situation.
Sure. If a gun is fired at somebody and they're not hit, you could be looking at a retainer of easily 10,000 or more. If somebody is shot, you know, it could be a little more expensive. If you got a murder, you could be looking at a retainer of 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, depending on the attorney and what he or she feels, you know, is their appropriate rate based on their, you know, past results and their track record and all of that. So yeah, I would say, go ahead.
I just
that's
gonna be,
if you let off a gun and you're like, that's an aggravated assault charge. If you shoot at somebody and you don't hit them, you know, it could be at least, you know, $10,000. You might find somebody do it for significantly more, maybe a little less, but that's probably ballpark area of what you're looking to spend.
So have a cool 50,000 ready.
Bottom line,
bottom
line, if you're gonna fire a weapon for self-defense, it better be self-defense, because you know a lot of people they don't have no faith. You know, a gun is a tool, but having faith and not being afraid. Because look at the police officers. Look how they're not all of them, but look at some of these cases where they firing out of fear. Like you know, the person don't even have a weapon. They just I fear for my life, and they just shoot. And so, like, that's that reactive mindset, you know. So we operating in fear all the time. A lot of people need to put their faith in God. They need to have more and just reach for the gun just because you got one, but make sure that it's literally because you feel like your life is threatened.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like we talked about before. Like a lot of these cases where where
Senseless
it'll be
shooting.
like more than
Yeah.
15 feet. Hard to prove that it is
And yeah, and-
self-defense.
And just to kind of tie the law into that, it has to be, let's say you're on the streets and you're not in your home, and
Yeah.
it's a situation where you end up shooting somebody because it was a self-defense case. It has to be two things. You had to, you know, for one, honestly believe that this person was a threat to your life right then and there. You had to honestly
right.
believe that. Then it also has to be reasonable, which is objective, meaning no person placed in that situation in your shoes would have also felt like this person was dangerous or a threat to their life, and you have to use the force necessary to get the threat off of you. So if somebody is planning to push you or slap you, you can't, you know, shoot them. Now, if somebody has a gun or a knife, or even, you know, maybe a baseball bat or a crowbar, that could be a threat to your life. And they're, you know, charging you.
And now that judgment about what a reasonable person would do, that decision is made by the jury.
The finder of fact.
Okay.
The finder of fact. It's going to either be the jury in 9 out of 10 cases, or if you have a judge, a bench trial, it's going to be the judge.
Yeah.
Usually it is the jury, and they're the ones who determine whether or not it was reasonable for you to
even
fire.
take that.
Now, to switch it up too as well, I'm curious about domestic situations.
Good question.
And how that impacts people from being able to get firearms. You may have some.
I
instances.
definitely have two that is often asked of me of our peers, and especially people of our age that you know was a knucklehead back in the day caught a charge.
Sure.
First offenders in the state of Georgia. Okay. They got a felony back when they was 16, 17, 18. We're going to say 17, 18 because they're no longer minors. So they caught this felony as an adult. Whatever the felony is, drug, whatever, it's one felony. If they use their first offenders, are they able to carry and go get their license, and after they're done doing their sentence, which meaning they completed their probation, everything was correct, they didn't have any violation, like everything was sweet. They got probation at 17, did great, got off of it. Now they're 26, again, not knowing, never went and attempted to get a gun or get his license. Do they have a chance as first offender convicted felons? Do they have a chance to get their firearms?
Yes, they do. It's limited circumstances where that individual would not be able to do it, but most drug cases, especially if you, for whatever reason, took a first offender for a misdemeanor, definitely those. But even drug convictions, as long as it's first offender, because it's not a conviction, your treatment is first offender treatment. So as long as you successfully complete it, typically you're able to get, you know, that.
Please tell them
that,
again.
yeah.
The key word is successfully
completed.
Okay.
The
Completed
probation.
mean finished.
Yeah.
Not successfully hell.
Not started.
Because a lot of guys, just, you know,
Now,
it's like,
during no, while you're on that first
no,
probation,
again,
absolutely not.
You're kind of incarcerated on probation.
You are.
Probation.
You're serving a sentence.
You're serving a sentence on the outside of jail,
Correct.
outside of prison.
100%.
And another thing is, the guys that's getting into it with their old ladies, or the old ladies that's getting into it with their guys.
Come on, talk on that point.
DeKalb County, man, you know, they known for it back in our era. When they pull up, they don't care. Y'all can be kissing and smooching. You know, everything's made up. Y'all on good terms, but they pull up and say somebody got to go.
Yeah.
Which meaning we not gonna leave y'all in this household together. Y'all called us off the muscle when that phone call is called. That's domestic violence. If you have a child in the house, that's cruelty to children. Okay, those two things right there, misdemeanors now, and this key word, no felonies, misdemeanors. They go to jail, they get out, boom. What happens to them when it comes to getting it?
Two things. Even if you don't get a conviction, there can be some stuff that happens before that where you could be prevented from getting or owning or possessing a gun. One of them could be bond conditions. Let's say you get arrested on a domestic violence case, battery with a girlfriend or spouse. When the judge releases you, assuming you get a bond, one of the conditions that they may put on you is that you cannot own, possess, or be around any firearms. So that's one thing. And along those same lines, let's say that the female takes the male to court to get a temporary protective order. The judge in that case can say, as part of your TPO for this, 6-month
Temporary
period or
protective.
year-long period, you can't own or possess a gun because it's domestic violence. And after that, let's say if you beat it, great. Depending on the circumstances, I'm not advocating anybody, beating up anybody. But if you beat it, that's one thing. However, if you do get a conviction, anything with domestic violence, you are federally banned. I mean, in all 50 states, the federal government is saying because you have a domestic violence charge, you cannot have a gun. With the exception of a simple battery. Then you can still, even though it's domestic violence, anything above a simple battery domestic violence, federally you cannot possess a gun. Even though in the state of Georgia, you can on the first domestic violence conviction. So it's kind of this weird thing where it may not come up because even if you're catching new charges.
Too now, not just
yeah,
because women can call every day.
yeah, I'm
Not
talking
just
about
because you've
convictions.
been, your name is in the system for
Yeah.
this situation, that situation, but they only can go off of convictions.
Yeah, and that's
Is
either
there-
a plea or a jury trial that ends in a guilty verdict. Yeah, so even with that afterwards, so you get the one in Georgia, let's say you get a domestic violence battery conviction in Georgia, you can still possess a gun under Georgia law, but you cannot under federal law. So it's really like you kind of rolling the dice. Well, if I get picked up in, Clayton County or Gwinnett County or DeKalb or wherever in Georgia, I'm not breaking Georgia law, even though I have
feds
this
pick it
gun and
and the
this
feds pick it
whatchamacallit,
up.
but they could pick up, and you'll see the feds pick up these cases really when they want guys who are accused of gang or criminal activity together to snitch on each other, because it's an easy fed case to put on somebody. Okay, we caught you with a gun, you got a domestic violence case, we're gonna bring a fed case against you. It's scary, it's a fed case, they get that guy to roll on everybody else. But outside of that, the only time you really see that charge, that federal charge is usually with something else. Somebody got caught with a bunch of dope. Somebody got caught with a bunch of, some illegal contraband, and they
So basically not the average father and like you say, because I'm an advocate for the average, you know what I mean? Like I tell folks, this is not to just protect yourself, a lot of them guys is out there to play offense, you see what I'm saying? We're on the other side of the protection and the safety and the knowledge that's gonna not just the safety behind keeping the gun safety, but the safety behind your own life when it comes to these laws and regulations, man, is deep. Because of course we all stand on I got the right to protect my life and my children's life. But to just be ready to go do a 10-year to 25-year bid, and it could be manslaughter, it could be anything due to the feat. And I'm gonna ask you that, in the state of Georgia, is this a stand your ground law state?
It is. But before I go to that, I want to follow up with the DV. Second domestic violence conviction, not only is it a felony, but then in the state of Georgia, you will be banned from firearms. So that's that. But yeah, Georgia is a stand your ground case. We all got familiarized with that. Of course, I think that was 2012-ish with Trayvon Martin. So basically, let's say you, as that reasonable person, feel like your life is being threatened, or the life of somebody with you. You can defend somebody else's life as if it was your own. If you feel like your life or a loved one or somebody you're with, their life is in danger, and then the fact finder would agree that it was reasonable, whatever those circumstances, however they present themselves, it was reasonable. At that point, you do not have to run. So let's say you're at a mall parking lot and somebody hits your car, you hit their car, and they want to fight, talk crazy, and it gets into a real heated argument, and they go for a gun. You can still carry, have yours on you. You weren't intending to shoot anybody, obviously, but in that situation, in the parking lot, you pull your gun, they
Hold on, y'all.
Oh, that's not the right technical term.
We're gonna use the right terminology.
Okay,
We don't want to
actually-
empty the magazine.
Yeah, I
You don't
wouldn't
want to
suggest
empty
that.
your magazine.
That's
What's wrong
kinda-
with clip?
Clip, The terminology is incorrect. A clip actually
teach us.
holds bullets, which is, I told you, think of Rambo.
Oh, so that's a
With the
clip.
50 and that's a clip that's holding.
Okay.
A magazine houses.
I didn't know that.
Learn
Houses
something every day.
goes inside,
in the
clips
music.
are on the outside.
Gotcha.
Housing, magazine.
Yeah.
The ammo actually goes inside of the magazine.
Okay, good to know.
But that makes sense to stand your ground. I mean, imagine you with your children or something.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
You
And
gonna
another
run
thing
and
with
leave
me,
them?
okay, what about if you reach for, like I said, it's a stand your ground law state. A lot of people get it kind of mixed up where the whole, they gotta shoot first, it gotta be a full up.
Yeah.
Can it be a, hey man, I'm gonna shoot you, you go to see him reach in his car. Like I wouldn't recommend you just fire the car up either, but you don't want nobody, you don't know what he coming up. We always gonna boil down to what we would do, and of course we're gonna protect our lives, but a guy reaching to pull with me being trained, and I get the quick draw McGraw because I'm Clint Eastwood, you know what I'm saying? And I basically win the draw. He never got a chance to let off a shot. My life was considered still at dangerous mentally. Like you just said, it's your choice.
Yeah.
And would that still fall into self-defense due to him not shooting? But I obviously seen the gun, he went forward, he pulled, and I basically did him like the police do.
Absolutely.
Anybody else who's trying to protect
Absolutely,
their
you
life,
can
they
still
feel like
claim
that.
self-defense. A lot of times the prosecutors will try to make it seem as if you have to see a gun or it has to be right there in your face, but it's not the law. The law says, was it reasonable? And did you honestly believe? Honest is the part that's subjective to you. What's objective is that he's saying he was going to shoot you or he's making threats to you. He's going into his car. He's reaching. These are all things that anybody in that situation could, easily perceive as it being a threat to their life.
Right.
Even if, somebody might feel like, hey, I'm big and bad. I don't care what you do. I'm not afraid. You ain't gonna do nothing to me. You can't kill me or you're not gonna do nothing to me. That's subjective. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's that person.
Right.
But yeah, it's really just up to
The average,
to
like
that.
you said,
You can
the
think of it
normal
as
mind
the
of a-
normal mind. What's
The
reasonable.
soccer mom and the
Yeah.
soccer dad
Yeah.
out at Citgo, if this happened, would they think that,
Would they
like you said, nobody who's hip with crime, nobody who understand gun and can look at a person just know that they're harmed. You can't look at a person,
You
they
can't
smile,
do it.
it's,
Right.
they will walk in and smile. So it's not like it's ski mask.
Right.
It's things that automatically would tell you that, oh, I should, get ready.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say literally, oh, I bumped into him at the club. He high on whatever. He remembered this 2 hours ago. I'm walking to my car. He just want to start something, and it's like, hey man, boom.
Yeah.
And it's due to him just walk to his car. Oh, I got something for you. I hate that. Please don't do that in the state of Georgia. And that's threats. Like
That's definitely a threat. I got
I
something for
wouldn't
you.
exactly. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. Of course, I'd kill you as a threat, but depending on where you are and what state you in, they are ebonic, is what I would say, type or slogans that's threats. This right here, they're starting to try to, ban that with law enforcement with just a hand gesture. If a man just do this or do this, he didn't say anything. So did he technically threaten you? If your people say, did he say anything? No, man, he had a gesture.
Yeah.
But it's just like saying, you did.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I
Now,
got
would it-
something for you.
Would it be reasonable? Would a reasonable person, after being threatened,
I wouldn't shoot him, man.
say,
I mean,
I wouldn't take that decision.
if somebody
That's my
say,
decision.
you know what I mean? I got something for you.
Step out 1 second, real quick, man. Excuse me, y'all. Y'all tune in with the fellows.
If somebody say, I got something for you,
mm-hmm.
and then they walk off to their car, is it reasonable to? Is it more reasonable to walk away or to leave?
That would be the whole.
And is that the stand your ground thing?
Exactly.
Too? Okay.
That would be the whole stand your ground. And stand your ground would say that you have to basically, you have a duty to retreat. So you, in order to avoid shooting somebody, you have to first see if you can exit the situation. So in a state where you have a duty to retreat, if somebody's saying, I'm going to go to the car, or I'll be right back, or I got something for your ass, or anything like that, making threats, and they're going to the car or they're going to their waistband, in a duty to retreat state, you would, be required to, okay, let me go to my car, let me leave the situation, and maybe this guy cool off, I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
In Georgia, it's a public area, whether it's a store or a parking lot, there's no duty to retreat. You can stand right there, and you can do a number of things. You can wait to see what they pull out. You can shoot if you feel like your life is in danger, and a reasonable person would also feel the same way. Or you can do nothing. I don't advise doing nothing. But yeah, those things are all available to you. I think I might have locked the door, so I'm not sure. You may wanna.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, just click that thing in the middle of the door to make sure it's unlocked. Okay. Yeah, we were just going over the differences between duty to retreat and stand your ground, and take the example where the guy's in the parking lot. If he makes a threat and he looks like he's going into the car in a duty to retreat state, law will require you to try and walk away, diffuse the situation. He's okay. We're at the at the exit, and he's saying he's going to his car that's 50 feet away. It's a duty to retreat state. I'm supposed to try and walk away and avoid it and give him a chance to kind of just relax. In Georgia, I was telling Bashir, you can do a number of things. You can wait to see what he does. You can if you feel threatened and it's reasonable that your life is in danger, you can shoot if he's reaching, or you can do nothing, but you have no duty to exit the situation. There's none of that in Georgia and other states that go by the stand your ground.
Okay.
I gotta ask y'all a serious question though. Just without the law, just as a human being, as a person, I know we had a right to stand the ground, and that makes sense to me. But I'm saying logically, if let's say you didn't have a firearm, you didn't have that, and somebody was threatening you. You say you at a club somewhere or something, like you had a quick little altercation, and it was like, man, when I see you again, like it's home, like I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Although you can stand the ground, if you said to yourself, you know what, this man right here is somebody that's lost, somebody that don't have a knowledge of self, somebody that's ignorant, somebody that's high, who knows what dope he was on, he out of his mind. Even though you could stand your ground, would it make sense for you to remove yourself from that situation if you could? Because I know there's some circumstances where you absolutely gotta stand your ground. Maybe you somewhere you can't really move nowhere. You with your family.
Yeah.
You gonna stand your ground. You ain't got no choice. You are gonna have to fight. But in certain situations that you can diffuse without using your firearm, if you don't have to, it's kind of like as men, our pride, our ego, like nigga, you ain't gonna run me off nowhere.
Barbarian.
You know what I mean? Like I got something for you. Like come back. Like But then also at the same time that elevated, civilized type of thinking when you like, you know what, it ain't even worth it. I'm gonna go over here. I'm just gonna avoid this person.
Yeah.
And then if that person do come back, you know what I mean?
So I just go first time.
Yeah, I just want y'all to just
starting out, man. I definitely don't condone violence, and
right.
all of that is a violent act. You see what I'm saying? No matter if it's self-defense or not, you done did something violently to defend yourself. Okay.
Right.
Always make that your last resort. That's what we fail to realize is that. We can assume a lot of things. So many factors that can boil into the reasoning why this man should be able to go home to this family and this man should be able to go home to this family.
Right.
For one, is it that serious? 9 times out of 10, you a lawyer. When you hear that type of goddamn cases, you be like, bro, you just caught a murder charge over this? You shot this man because he spit by your car?
Or whatever. Yeah.
You got guys that alcohol, drugs, emotions, man. I'm sorry, y'all. Shout out, man. If you having any type of problems or whatever, man, emotionally, go fix it. You see what I'm saying? I just feel like it's a pride thing, and it's not just pride, as you can't control your emotions, so now you don't have no self-control. So therefore, you done made a quick decision that not may cost you your life. That man or that lady, she's gone. They're gone.
Right.
You got to be able to live on what you did. So definitely. When I say last resort, if it's fighting, if it's pushing, if it's talking, if it's running sometimes. Not to say if somebody shooting at you, of course don't run, but if it takes you to be the bigger man to, like you just said, leave a situation.
If you can,
Shout out to my OG, Triple OG, they be coming up to the shop, man. He come up there and shoot with me. Old head, he always told me as young black men, we're very smart. We need to start learning how to use this. we was taught to use this and then them same hands, now they picking up firearms, but nobody using they excuse my French, they fucking head, man. It's like, you know, I watch so many folks be like, man, that ain't me. How many times you seen that killer or that person that did something, you like, bro, that's just not him. You see what I'm saying? You know he really made a split decision in his life. And it's tragic on both ends. Don't let nobody think it's cool to take somebody's life, man. Don't never think it's something to be proud about. Again, you can be proud about saving your life, but only God knows. You see what I'm saying? What you're gonna have to deal with self-wise. So again, think
protector
before you pull, think before you shoot. Really observe the situation, what's being said. All of this is gonna help you in your case anyway. If you do take a shot, observe. Find out who was around, what was really said. A lot of times, man, in arguments, you get a lot of things said mixed up.
We were talking earlier about, and this kind of goes into, you know, like versus the DUI, like the drinking limit that you can have when you're driving versus when you have
0.2, 0.3, like you can't basically don't do it. You know?
Right. And this
it
is because
deals with your decision making. Not from a lawyer, not even from a lawyer. From like we took that out of it. From your perspective, especially with you having so much that you didn't heard and seen, you probably have a different. But how do you feel?
In terms of mixing alcohol with concealed carry?
Nah, just the whole, what decision, what should really trumps that, ooh, I need to, not ooh, but, oh my God, I gotta do this. I gotta pull this trigger. I gotta defend myself in that manner where I may take another person's life. Because I shoot to kill, I'm sorry to say. I don't shoot them. I don't, because you don't.
You gotta
shoot back.
Stopping the threat.
You getting shot and you shoot back is a rap.
Me personally.
No, is that a headshot or a body shot?
Two to the chest.
Two to the chest, one to the head.
So
That's what the special forces.
So
do.
that rap shit,
yeah.
Just in case I miss now, it's them just in cases now.
Yeah.
But all of them are kill shots. That's why you shoot.
And that's them having a firearm, trying to shoot you, and you like, okay.
It's a personal choice to me, and I would personally choose to walk away if possible. You know what I mean? I'm not going to turn my back on somebody who just threatened to kill me, but I value both of our lives more than whatever this is about. You know, most times, if you're savvy enough and you kind of see where a confrontation is going, you can usually stop it before it gets there. It's like coming up on an accident on the freeway. If you're driving, you know, at a reasonable speed, you can kind of see it in time and slow down and avoid being the fifth or the sixth car to you know, you seen that 5 or 6 car that boom, 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 boom.
Like, how did the one in the back? I know the first two, you know, but
you usually avoid it if you're savvy enough. But sometimes if it's right there, you know, you gotta go. But I would try and avoid it just because, you know, I wouldn't want to have to deal with that, you know, homicide on my conscience if I could avoid it. But sometimes you may not be able to. And then there's the practical, you know, consequences of it. Like we talked about what it costs, you know, to retain a lawyer.
Right.
Will you be charged? You know, think about also maybe your reputation in the community.
That affects your whole
you
family,
know?
man. Your mom, your kids, like, we watch it.
Absolutely.
We gotta really understand that our decisions affect hundreds. It affects whole families, though.
So just make sure it's worth it.
It does. Everybody got to,
make sure it's worth
you know,
it when you pull that trigger.
That's right.
And it's worth staying alive. Don't get me twisted, y'all. We're not saying don't defend yourself because you have a right to, and we're not saying, you know, just sit around and just run from confrontation. Again, stand your ground. That's what we were speaking on. But
that's what's so powerful about all this. We got the legal perspective, right? We got the mentor, the training, and make sure you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And this whole culmination of with this information that we kicking is so that way those that do have firearms, they got the resources. If you here in Atlanta, you know you can come holla at Jabari A. Jones Law. You know, come holler at your firearm friend, right?
And man, like I said, the mentorship, you know, it's not just the youth. It's for everybody. I'm just now learning at the age that I'm at now that I've always needed a mentor, a life coach.
You always do. You always do.
So when it comes to certain things, if you're gonna be a firearm owner, I'm your mentor, and that's why the whole firearm friend, man, is bringing people into an environment so they don't feel uncomfortable. They're getting this knowledge. They're getting, you know, free game, man. I'm from Atlanta, you know. We're just people persons, and we grow up with the hospitality. And I want people to be able to be comfortable in their house and be safe and understand that it's okay to be gun owners. It's okay to show our kids the safety and the techniques behind not protecting themselves, but being around guns in a safe manner. The worst thing we can do is we we so worried about our household. What's gonna happen when your child go over, you know, his friend's house and his
Yeah.
daddy owns 17 guns, and again, his son has the knowledge and your son lacks it, so he done picked up one of his guns and made a mistake. Don't let that happen, because these kids are very smart. You know, us as humans, we have evolved, y'all. You know what I mean? Let's stop playing dumb. You know, when it come down to it, man, and again, this is for the people that is out here toping and carrying and got their gun on their nightstand right now. If you got your gun out, man, check your safety right now. You see what I'm saying? It's just, when the last time you checked your firearm? Be on top of it. If this gonna be
Clean
something
it out.
to
Make
do,
sure
tell
you
people, boy, it's a
prepare.
lifestyle. This
Yeah.
is not something you just get a part of. This is not something that, it's not an outfit. It's not something that's trendy. And it kind of get me passionate about it, because it's nothing to play with. You know, it's fun,